it is more like um, uh, not deeper inquiries. It is more about imbalance in life, inherent imbalance. And imbalance is a symptom of Kali Yuga, you know. So often this also is borrowed in devotees' life when we become devotees. Devotees may also undergo identity crisis. Okay. So there are various identities we play. First of all, in order to understand identity crisis, I was researching on modes of nature. And um, it's very complex modes of nature. Okay. While we may think of mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, ये प्रभु जी mode of passion में है, ये mode of goodness है, ये mode of ignorance है. पर ऐसा होता नहीं actually. We in different spheres of life we exhibit different modes. Okay, we don't exhibit a constant. Generally, that doesn't happen. Generally, okay. Somebody may. I'll give you an example, and I'm going to talk examples. A lot of examples. Somebody becomes a devotee, and he or she, like, no, I mean, let's say in college you become a devotee, and then let's say you think that, no, what is there to work outside and all, like, no, all those things, and I'll just do something. And one becomes very neglectful about one's, let's say, career, giving it that as an example. Then what happens is that, no, now apparently the devotee is maybe in goodness in general, but in terms of sphere of career, he has exhibited ignorance. Okay. And the same, let's say, a devotee is very good in their career and they are very nicely practicing devotion, but in their marital affairs, they have, they see their wife, they're not able to even strike relationship with one person, that is a spouse. Okay, so, and due to misconception that, no, my spouse is like, no, not a good person. I got the worst person in life. All these are actually very negative outlooks people, and then, but that's not the case. So uh, ignorance means having a complete opposite understanding of what that object is. Let's say that object is supposed to give us security, and we have a complete opposite understanding that this object or this personality is going to create problem for me. That is ignorance. Goodness means having the right understanding of the objects, having the right understanding of the objects. So let's say somebody is working, uh, you cannot necessarily say he is in passion. As long as he is working with the proper understanding that, I have to build my career and grow in such a way, and so on and so forth. Passion is when one becomes so attached behind one object that it becomes practically mad after that. And loses all the other focus. So, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance is actually understanding of the objects we are dealing with around us. So therefore, in second canto, when creation is being discussed, fifth chapter, this concept of dravyam comes in. Dravya means elements, material elements. And these material elements only, they kind of come together and make an object. Okay. Sense object. Okay. So sense object interacts with the senses, okay, by the mercy of Daiva. That's how second canto explains creation. Now the problem is not senses, and problem is not Daiva. Problem is our understanding of those sense objects. That is what is going to define or decide which mode I am predominantly in that particular sphere of life. Okay. So let's say somebody decides to not go for kids after getting married. It's very nice, and they may be very well placed in their career also. Very well placed. And they may think that, no, okay, but I'll not go for kids, because it's a very, whatever reason they may give, fancy reason. But the point is not what their reason they're giving. Point is their misunderstanding of that object. That is going to be a problem for me. So they may be in goodness in their career, maybe in their financial planning, but they are in ignorance when it comes to family or about parenthood per se. So why I gave you this background of modes is because that is what is going to define identity crisis for us. All of us are playing multiple identities, not playing one identity. We are playing the identity of a devotee. Okay. And what is a dravyam in case of identity of a devotee? Lord himself. Lord is also described as dravyam sometimes. He is like a, you know, reservoir of rasa. You must have read that Prabhupada's small book, Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasures. And Krishna is supreme object. Object, Prabhupada uses this word, object of devotion. So, of course, he's like, so when there is a misunderstanding about Dravyam here, then the identity of a devotee goes for a toss. Okay. Identity of a devotee goes for a toss. Um, we'll talk of practical examples also. I'll come why at all. First is understanding, why identity crisis happens. So let's say if there is a misunderstanding about Lord himself with a devotee, when a devotee has develops that misunderstanding about Lord and his devotional process, or devotees in general, then he develops a crisis of identity crisis of being a devotee. What does that mean? That means that the devotee may start, identity crisis means what? He's not confident of that particular identity. One starts to feel that no, probably this is a problem only, this whole uh, you know uh, devotional life or devotee per se is that's how it is. It's not something which is right, or there is some problem. There's this crisis, that crisis. The problem is there's a misunderstanding about Lord as a person. Therefore, there's an emphasis on understanding philosophy, expanding our understanding of philosophy, a regular understanding. You know, as long as we become static, especially in Grihastha life, that is going to happen. As long as we get static about expanding our understanding about Lord, we will lose all interest in Krishna consciousness. So we may start devotional life, we may become excited about reading books, exposed to it, but we have to continue with that. Similarly, there are other identities we play. Identity of a professional, let's say. Now, somebody who doesn't, why identity crisis is going to come in a professional life? I'm just talking of one. Now I'll go the other side also. But there's a first side when you neglect the dravyam itself. Okay. When you too much just don't assign that importance to that dravyam, neglect it. Okay. So similarly in profession career, we see sometimes no devotees may actually start feeling that no, and this is it's okay. They may take it lightly. They may think that no, I am a devotee, Krishna is going to take care of me any which way that's going to happen. And a crisis ensues. Because why? We are not understanding that dravyam of my career properly. I'm thinking it is anyways not going to. So I'm not putting my understanding in, or under trying to understand. I'm in name of dependence on Lord, I'm making my life easy. Nothing called dependence. It's just I'm making my life easy. Okay. So understanding of that, Dravyam, that this job which I'm trying to avoid is actually my dharma, my duty, and and if I have to survive in this, I have to grow. Okay. But at the same time, so this is how the neglect happens, and then the crisis may come over there. When one thinks in that way, it may so happen that uh, you know uh, she may neglect that particular aspect in a way, and then eventually start running after it. and then start feeling weak, start feeling inferior about it. Okay, later on. One will not say it openly, but one may start feeling inferior about it and all this. Therefore, it is important to do due justice to our different identities we are accepting. Okay. Uh, Similarly, the next identity which we may hold is like that, that of a husband potentially, okay, where, our wife, where the spouse is our dravyam. So there also, generally, why do crises happen in relationship? When focus is actually, not respecting that person. See, if you see, the common aspect is respect. Common factor is respect. Respecting Krishna, and we grow into respecting our, career growth and all those things, and do respect. Similarly, respecting our spouse, respecting our spouse, for is very important. Uh, when we say respect, we mean respecting their individuality. Okay, respecting their individuality. See, it's I don't know, but somehow we extrapolate Vedic times so much that we think that Vedic times means no, this is servant, she's a slave, wife is a servant, and no, husband is a master, and all those other nonsensical aspects. We none of us, can be master. It's a fundamental problem in that whole conception only. We both are mutually dependent on each other. That's a right understanding to have. And if one thinks that no, this lady is a problem only, she's a is a issue only, and tries to neglect, and you are a problem. Your idea, your mind is a problem actually. So when we neglect that, that leads to identity crisis in that area. You may do professionally very well. You may be, in fact, doing very well as a devotee, but you will have a crisis in that aspect. And then what will happen? You will probably create a philosophy that all Bhagavatam was right. Bhagavatam, one place, Maitreya Vidura, discussion between two Vanaprasthas are happening. We extrapolate and put it in our 22 years old life. It becomes, we have to see the context also of what the discussion is happening. We can't just copy paste everything. Otherwise, ChatGPT can do a better job. So there's a context to that discussion. Why will Arjuna talk about, why will Krishna is going to talk about Arjuna to fight? As well as context. So context is more important. We have to understand things in context and catch the principle accordingly. So, so it may so happen that no, I may disrespect the spouse. I may not respect the spouse properly. I may not respect their role in my life. What role they play in my life. Mm. Uh, why this happens, I'll come to the third layer. First I explained the layer of modes of nature. Now I'm explaining the layers of identity and why identity crisis may happen. It may not that fully you will evaporate in life, but in one particular area, disaster may happen if we are having this, or maybe two, three. और कई बार एक इतना बड़ा बम फटता है कि सब बाकी सब जगह भी पटाखे बजने लग जाते हैं, वो भी होता है, होता ही है वो. So from the beginning, we should not be investing like no, I mean, me and my wife, we were discussing that no, we are like both 40 plus now, married for what, 17 years. So we were discussing that we do a lot of training for Nityananda Sabha and the entering devotees and all. Actually, what happens in devotees, they enter, चलो भाई कर लो, अच्छे से वो प्रिंसिपल्स अप्लाई करो, नहीं तो फट जाएगा सब कुछ. हाँ, तो देखते ही भी अप्लाई भी करते हैं, बट डीप विद इन नो, we should have an aspiration to develop very deep relationship with our spouse. You may think it is so mundane. Arey Prabhuji, what are you saying? It's mundane. It's not. It is actually understanding dravyam. That is a true value of the dravyam. The spouse is supposed to be the best friend. When Yaksha Prashna, Yudhishthir Maharaj was being asked, who is the best friend of a man? What was the answer? Wife. Wife is the best friend. Can you imagine? That was Yudhishthir Maharaj's answer. So sometimes we take it like a very Now, in order to invest in that relationship, you have to obviously spend, respect first of all. And respect means then you have to actually appreciate that person's point of view, appreciate what value that person is bringing in our life. And I'll tell you why it doesn't happen. Then at the third layer, I'm going to talk about that. That is something which we all need to focus on. And I'll again connect it to Bhagavatam's 10th canto. So we'll ultimately, we are all talking in sphere of Bhagavatam. Okay? Don't worry. Okay. Don't think that, oh, Prabhuji is talking about. But, this is what Bhagavatam is talking about actually. So then their identities, when we neglect the Dravyam. So, you may you may be distant from your wife and you may look at other women, or women, she is not getting satisfaction with the husband, she may look at other men. It's a reality. It's a reality. Why there are so many issues happening in married life is that the concept of outside world is right now is that okay, give individuality, give identity, means you do your stuff, I do my stuff. That is a very superficial level of acknowledging identity of each other or individuality of each other. The deeper is, how do I support you in realizing your dreams? How do I support you? How do I help you? And uh, and how do I support you has to be done spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, and actually, making them feel, secured. So I was talking about this 17 post 40 plus years, we were observing a phenomena, okay, even amongst devotees sometimes, that people are married like 40 plus, But what happens is that you get married, da, 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 and then you start doing kids, one, two, two, okay, whatever. Then by the time there is so much energy going all in kids only, okay. Then the kids, by the time actually they grow up, then you touch 40, okay. So now the kids have grown up, okay, and uh, you are going to your office, you are doing it. The crisis happens for the woman because she gave her life. So she starts facing an identity crisis, okay. And she starts feeling that no, I gave my complete, you know, I was identifying myself as the wife or the husband is also, anyways. By the time, till the time kids were together, we were together changing nappies. And now the kids have grown up. We don't have time for each other also, right? I'm talking slightly, ahead of time, but there's something which is applicable. So better cost of prevention is always better to increase more rather than cost of external failure or internal failure. Then she thinks that the kids for whom I've given everything, now kids have grown up their own, they are in their own world. Who am I? That's what happens for them. So at that time, if the husband says, "Arey, what is this nonsense? We are giving you everything. No, I'm giving you money. I'm telling you, so many cases like this are happening. I'm giving you money. I'm giving you like, no, what else you need? What else? What else? What else? She needs identity. She's facing that. She's feeling that. Who am I? Okay. Now you may say, अरे जीव स्वरूप है कृष्ण नित्य दास, तुम्हें तो पता ही है. But वो हमारा ही नहीं हो पाया अभी तक. Because if you, let's say, start running and train, you're not going to reach faster to the destination. Your train is going to take its own time. And let's say if our train is anyways a local EMU, it is, I don't know whether it is going to reach also or not. So we have to, and on the other hand, we are enjoying accomplishment, fulfillment in certain areas, in office and all those things. So it's easy for us to say that thing, ideal gyan, but that's not the reality. so to So ये बात पहले ही गांठ बांध लो कि मतलब I have to invest time with my wife. I have to make her feel appreciated and all those things. Similarly, same goes for the wife also, for the with the husband. You know, coming together in resonating with the thought process, etc., and all those things. That is very very important for them. So now, if the wife has an identity crisis, you are also going to have an identity crisis because you will start feeling, oh, slowly. You are 40, then layoffs will happen. Anyways, 45 is an expiry date. You know, I mean, on LinkedIn, I was reading a post 2 days back. One person commented that now the time taken to travel from one point to another to Bangalore in Bangalore is reduced from 1 hour 35 minutes to 1 hour 10 minutes. And then he tagged Ashwini Vaishnav and all those people that know, please take care of layoffs. It is all happening because of layoffs only that the traffic is reducing. So, so so we also, like I was talking to one of my relative I visited this time. I was telling that what is the purpose of my life? I don't know. Because then later on, what happens? Then wife will find her own way. Then we will run after her that no, give me time, give me time, give me time. So best is to remain as one unit. Okay. So same goes for identity crisis in a parent's form. What happens is parenthood is a very beautiful experience actually. People don't realize it. Sometimes people have this whole idea of God knows where it is coming from. But yeah, we'll talk of why such ideas pop up also. We'll come to that. Okay. Why in certain areas we behave like this. Okay. So, as we get step into parenthood, we feel that no, or we don't want to step into parenthood because we feel that no, it's a very tiring job, or I'll sacrifice my career, I'll sacrifice my devotional life, I'll sacrifice this, I'll sacrifice that. So many questions we put across. But then what happens is that, we don't really understand the meaning of complete growth. We are just looking at professional growth or maybe some so-called devotional growth. I don't know, maybe some bit of more volume of services, more kgs of services, more liters of services, or whatever whomever we are trying to please. I don't know. But yeah, that's what we understand. But then that's not the case actually. The overall growth comes when we do the due justice to the role which we have to perform, especially parenthood. I want to talk about. There was an article I read in Financial Times, on childlessness. And this was written by somebody who was childless. But his reflections after 40, 45, of being childless. He was saying that when we started, with this concept of, we'll not go for kids, etc. and all. So it looked very exciting concept, because you get more time and more freedom, you can save more money and all that nonsensical idea. Who is going to get baby in this world, such a bad world? वो सब reasons होते हैं. तो ऐसे करके no we did. Later on, and this is he's sharing his reflections because he was one of them, and then he's kind of no giving his realization. Then he was telling that, that A, when you undergo a parenthood, you become relevant because you again live life. Right now, you're just living your life cycle. But when you have a child, he'll make you live another life. You become more relevant when you have a child. Otherwise, let's say if you don't have a child, because he'll come and tell you latest trend is what is happening. Like my child comes and there's always an amazing growth we experience of perspective when we have a child. Second, he told us that no, see, the parenthood is so amazing. Every day is different. Monday is going to be different. Tuesday is going to be very different. And if you predict Wednesday is going to be like Tuesday, no, it will be again different. So what happens? You become conditioned to variability. So you don't stress out on normal things. So he was saying then what happens is after 40, 42, when you're basically you settle down. After 40, there are biological changes which happens. You start stressing out on the color of coffee also. उसके ऊपर भी आप discuss कर सकते हैं. That's what he was saying. You can discuss for hours together. You can't tolerate even small thing. And here you become like conditioned to tolerate anything. You don't stress on anything. You're chilling over this. Whatever. Because you get so attuned to dynamism in life. Isn't that amazing? So you become relevant. Uh, you don't stress out. And then, and there was another thing which he was mentioning, and I'll share that article with all of you. It was a beautiful article, actually. It was a very beautiful article. And then I think he was also telling on something on the, legacy. to transfer the legacy, etc., and all those things. And so anyway, so point is that no, that whole experience, and even from devotional standpoint, if you see, we have debt to our, ancestors. How we are fulfilling that debt? Now you may say, oh, no, 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 Mukunda. No, no, everything take since I have taken shelter of Mukunda, all my debts are no, 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 no. That is for Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the devotee for. He says that one who is at a level of prema bhakti. We are nowhere near. Okay? So for us, we have to clear the debt, which we have. Otherwise, a debtor can never be peaceful. A debtor will never be peaceful. Have you found a debtor which is peaceful, especially those who are not repaying their interest? EMIs, they have to, they can never be peaceful. So this will ensue identity crisis in a different way when we neglect that aspect of it. So we discussed identity crisis when you neglect as a position of a devotee, identity of a devotee is not properly, identity of a husband or a wife, identity of a professional, identity uh, you know of a parent, even identity of a family person, okay, of family in the sense of a person within your extended family. That also is a role to play, right? So we have to play that role as well. When you don't do that, you lose. Okay, you lose in the form of uh, I'm saying especially after marriage. I know base youth, devotee, youth forum devotees are anyways under a crash course right now, so that is fine. But after you pass out and after you are married, you have to ensure that there's a good connection you are able to strike with all kinds of people. Sometimes we are too paranoid about things, that I'm going to go to hell, if I'm talking to them. Nothing like that. Because even in our relatives, there is a very important thing which is lying, which is called Kula Dharma. Okay. So when Arjun was talking about not fighting to Krishna, he told that one of the reasons why I don't want to fight is Kula Dharma, Kulakshaya. Kula Dharma is going to get vinash. And Krishna didn't say, oh, what nonsense you're saying, mundane, you mundane are. No, he acknowledged that point. But he told that anyways, now you can't talk about it. Now there's a point that has come to fight, it has to be fought. So similarly, that identity is also very, very critical and important for us. So either we neglect these things, very, very badly, or the other aspect is uh, when we, uh, overly emphasize on these things, over in the sense, over in such a way that we neglect other aspects, in that way, So let's say somebody picked up devotional life and started giving up everything without applying one's intelligence, then later on he may start hating devotional life itself. Similarly, the other aspect of even amongst a spouse relationship, one cannot become like so much attached that he is not able to differentiate between the unreasonable demand of the spouse or reasonable demand of the spouse. Now I'm talking of the other side of it. Okay? That also leads to the crisis from the identity perspective. Same goes for parenting. Sometimes in parenthood, people neglect initially their child kids, and then they become overly, focused on them. In the sense when they are supposed to be given wings, then you hold them and bury them underground and not give them. So appropriately things have to be done. So basically, inappropriate attention to these different dravyam in these identities is going to lead to identity crisis. Now, why does that happen? All of us, if you see, in some place or the other, we are undergoing a struggle. Surprisingly, everybody. Why does that happen? And often we say मेरा स्वभाव है. हम इसको स्वभाव के नीचे डाल देते हैं. And now I'm going to talk of a third and a very interesting layer. There's nothing devotional about it. Okay, and nothing renunciation about it. Nothing like that. There are two types of mindsets. And in all these identities and in all these roles, we can exhibit either of these two mindsets. One is called growth mindset, the other is called fixed mindset. And I'll give you an example. All of you can tell, I'm giving you an example for somebody who is, let's say, filling their, you'll be able to now understand what I'm talking when I'm talking growth mindset. I'll give you 8 points, and mentally you tick which point you relate to more. Okay. And this is more for the think yourself as a kid. Okay. Or maybe you can think yourself as where you are. But it's more about intelligence. Okay. First, there is nothing you can do to change the level of your intelligence. Mentally टिक करना है आपको इसमें से. Nothing is static. You can always boost the level of your intelligence. It is easy for you to learn new things, but you know it can't help your intelligence. Fourth, you can change the level of your intelligence substantially. There is little or nothing that can be done to change who you are because the kind of person you are. It doesn't matter who you are. What matters is that you can change substantially. Deep down, you know that you can't change even if you do things differently. Eighth, there are basic things about your personality that can change. मेरे को नहीं पता जो भी mentally आपने टिक किया, but the odd ones, 1, 3, 5, 7, they were fixed mindset, and the even ones were. Now apply this mindset in all the identities. If let's say I'm thinking as a devotee also, I can have a fixed mindset. कुछ नहीं हो सकता भक्ति जीवन में. Nothing is possible. After पहले शुरू शुरू में तो लगता है सभी कुछ possible है. विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर, there is a book called Madhurya Kadambini, and there he talks of different stages of Anarth Nivritti. The first stage he talks is Utsahamayi. One is very, very enthusiastic, very enthusiastic. And example which is being given over there is that let's say somebody gets into a medical college and he thinks that I am a doctor now, which in one sense is right also, not wrong. But the point is it's not completely right because you have to pass the exam, you have to do 5 years and all those things. Then when he starts getting through the course, then he becomes depressed. And that's the second stage, everyone feels that no, it's not happening here. And becomes static in devotional life. Then one goes into extremes like that. There are 8 stages. It's called Anishthit Bhajan Kriya. Sometimes we can talk about that as well. So the point is, we can exhibit growth mindset or fixed mindset in any of these identities. And as soon as we start exhibiting fixed mindset, we are going to face identity crisis in that area. Now you may think, are any fixed mindset, but actually we do. And sometimes we put it under the cover of nature. What is this nature? Is it nature or is it my limitation? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. There's a question we need to ask ourselves. Is it my nature or is it my limitation? Oftentimes, our limitation because we don't want to do the hard work of overcoming it, which is part of growth mindset. I say that's it. So now you start applying growth mindset and fixed mindset in every identity. Check where you are. Am I playing the role of devotee with a growth mindset or fixed mindset? Am I playing the role of professional with a growth mindset or fixed mindset? Am I playing the role of a spouse with a growth mindset or fixed mindset? Am I playing the role of a parent with a growth mindset or fixed mindset? Any identity you pick up. The homework is we play the roles, whatever we are conscious that I am not slipping into fixed mindset. Fixed mindset मेरे से बहुत हो गया, burnout हो गया मैं. The symptom of fixed mindset. और कुछ मत बोलना मेरे को. Fixed mindset. No wonders why Srila Prabhupada in NOI, In the introduction, he says that advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the amazing point. And Prabhupada has made some, probably a lifetime to understand one statements. So meditate on this point. I'm not going to, think about this, Okay. Probably the next announcement we can go deeper into these mindsets. But let's see, am I exhibiting these different roles with what mindset? And magic is going to happen if we shift our mindset. We may think, how to change my mind? I can no, you can. It's just switch it. Start doing it with that. Let's say if I have started some career, I am very fearful. Pata nahi kya hoga, layoff hoga, layoff, layoff, layoff. What is that? What is that? Fixed mindset. What I start doing is what is there in my hand? Let me start improving myself. Let me start working on this area. Let me start working on it. What is fixed mindset? Fear of failure. What is growth mindset? What are the alternate ways? Are you getting the point? Everything, all the identities, we just have to introspect what. Wherever we are applying fixed mindset, we are going to have identity crisis in that area. That's identity crisis in business. Now I'll close with a very wonderful episode which happened in 10th canto, first chapter. You know, and that first chapter is 10th canto is first chapter is Devaki, Vasudeva, and Kans. First chapter is that. Devaki was going Vasudeva. My thousand and lakh times obeisances unto Vasudev. You know, Vasudev Banod Vasudev is such an amazing personality. What an amazing personality. Just think about the context. Vasudev is married to Devki. और वो ऐसी वैसी मैरिज नहीं थी कि चलो ये मर गई तो दूसरी शादी कर लूंगा कोई टेंशन नहीं है मतलब he literally meant you know getting married to her and everything was going such amazing and within a moment consider that Akashvani as something which happened beyond the control of an individual. Obviously it was beyond his control. Kansa changed. He picked his sword, took Devki by hair. It was about here. The sword was right here. Amazing part of Vasudev is that no, he did not give up. Just imagine. Arjun, he was on war field. Sword was not even picked up by anyone. Nobody was even near there, and there was complete bewilderment. In Devki only, no, his own attachment related, but the context is not, try to understand the similarities. And here is his own wife going to be killed. Okay. Okay. So, but he did not give up. He did not lose his, Purusharth growth mindset. Even at that moment, he tried everything. It's a very big chapter, 10th canto, first chapter. And if you read it, I have read the commentaries of Sanatan Goswami, G. Goswami on that. It's just amazing. You know what all things he applied. He applied Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. He started pacifying Kamsa and he glorified him. Then he started negotiating. Then he started giving him fear of next life. This, everything he tried. Still, he was not agreeing. And at that point of time, finally, he left with a deal that I'm going to give you all my kids, leave Devki. And that worked. He did not give up. And when he was doing that, there are reflections of Vasudeva in 2, 3 verses, and where he says that now beyond this, anyways, I can't do much. Now I leave it on Daiva because I'm sure Daiva is going to protect. See, this whole destiny and effort, such an amazing culmination comes in Vasudev's episode. Appropriate effort given, growth mindset. At the same time, he knew that also acknowledge the role of destiny. See, people either they don't give effort and very prematurely they give it on destiny. Very, very prematurely. Or in order to give complete effort, they have to actually deny destiny. But in that process, burnout happens. In that process, you pressurize yourself. But after giving everything, then depending on what is going to come, let it come. You ease yourself with that pressure. That is how the great souls they achieved so many big things, and they didn't burn out. So for us, either of the two happens, sometimes. Either we are like, okay, prematurely, नहीं होगा project किस्मत में क्या लिफ्ट नहीं चल रही थी मैं नहीं आया हूँ तो किस्मत में नहीं होगा. Just an example I can tell you. Very quickly, prematurely, we can give it up. So, so that's, this is a very, important point. This mindset, what we are having in performing our various identities, it's very, very critical, very, very critical. Actually, that is Nishkam Karma Yoga. Nishkam Karma Yoga means rerouting yourself every time. Nishkam Karma Yoga is not like sitting silently and like watching like this without any enthusiasm, like doing like this. That's not Nishkam Karma. Nishkam Karma Yoga means always rerouting yourself. If this is not working, so let's start doing that. Let's identify, acknowledge where we are developing those kind of things. Then we'll be able to, uh, save ourselves from the identity. Then crisis will not come. Then even midlife crisis will become midlife opportunities. Then we'll not see crisis, we'll see opportunities. I think we'll stop here. I'd like to take any questions. My idea was that I'll just speak for what? Some time. Any questions anybody's having? Yeah.
Yeah, no questions. So, thank you so much, Sholi, for connecting Bhagavatam with such practicalities of Grihastha Ashram. Thank you so much for that. So, question, Prabhuji, I have around this point of being a debtor that you mentioned, right? So, when we start executing Krishna consciousness in the early days, it's something we have heard very often that we have, debts of so many things. Right? We have debt to Devta, we have debt to Kula, we have debt to ancestors, Pitra, mother, father, teacher. There are enormous amounts of debt. And in the current world, the way we live, it is not possible to actually, get rid of all those debts, right? We are ready of many, many things, right? So we say that we have to perform bhakti so that we get rid of all those debts, right? So, but here when we discuss about
who told in current times it is not possible to repay it, by the way?
So, for example, we are not living in a Varnashram life, right? So, something
where it is written.
I'm not saying it's written, Guruji, but I'm saying the way we live today, right? It's not a Varnashram.
But somebody who's living in Varnashram, they can repay the debt.
Definitely. If somebody is living in Varnashram, not like in a Kali stage.
Like yeah. Somebody is following the codes, he can repay the debt, right?
Right. Okay. But the way we are living, right, it is not possible to pay those debts practically, right? Because we are not doing demigod worship, we are not doing things for cows, bulls, soil, land. There are debts for literally everything around us, right? So we say that we have to worship, do Krishna consciousness nicely so that we because we'll not be able to pay those debts, right? But then you mentioned that having a child is a debt that we have. Right? So if somebody thinks of that debt and considering that debt, right? For that, if I have a child, right? So, but just like that, I have so many other debts also, which I am not able to.
So I'll tell you something. In our life, some or other, sometimes we take things in a very, we have to identify the positive motivations of doing things. Okay. We cannot always motivate ourselves in a negative way. Yes, probably at some point of time it was being told that, that don't do all these things and focus on KC or whatever, like, or maybe because we had to kind of pick it up because anyways it's not possible for us as well. But you can't extrapolate that point till now. Okay, we have to come to the point of positive motivations for doing things. How it is good for me. Okay. So that negative motivation of not being able to repay debt or not being able to fully repay debt, I am taking shelter of Krishna consciousness. So the practices of Krishna consciousness is okay for that time, for taking that decision or for accelerating that decision of taking bhakti. But it cannot be the sole motivation to continue doing bhakti, or it cannot be a reason to neglect the other aspects of it. That becomes negative motivation to continue in bhakti, negative motivation to actually give up the other things, which is not good, which will not sustain also, because negative motivations never sustain. That's why we may pick up, but if our picking up motivation is more like I'm going to get, बहुत बहुत बैंड बज रही है, बहुत चांटे पड़ रहे हैं, ले लेता हूँ, उसके बाद शांत हो गए, फिर उसके बाद ठंडे पड़ गए. So mind needs positive motivation. That's why it has been told that no savai pumsha paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshajaye ahetu ki apratihata ya atmasukha. Why? There's no negative motivations. The only motivation is to serve the Lord. Such an amazing verse, actually. Such an amazing verse. If you see in that verse, or Mahaprabhu saying, no, na dhanam, na janam, na sundari, na kavita, na mama janam. This is such a positive verse, such a positive affection for devotional life. So we need to start developing positive motivations for different identities we are playing. We cannot be always negatively motivated for fulfilling the. अगर नहीं किया ना तो फट जाएगा, देखो फिर वो हर बार हम वैसे मेंटालिटी से नहीं चल सकते. वो अगेन फिक्स माइंडसेट, क्योंकि हम पॉजिटिवली अपने आप को मोटिवेट करने का चप्पू चला ही नहीं पा रहे हैं ना, तो क्या करते हैं, सबसे सही चीज क्या होता है, नेगेटिव तुरंत डालो, तुरंत सबको करंट डाल दो, पर वो चलता नहीं है. So as we spend time in devotional, we should find, positive reasons of doing things. Why just? I hope you're getting my context and point. So therefore, I told as a childlessness, think of positive aspects. I mean, it's not just the debt part of it. Okay, fine, ठीक है, चलो debt किसी ने आके बोल दिया हो गया तुम्हारा भाई, bankrupt से clear, loan is cleared. Okay, चलो. Then are we okay with that? It's about, having that experience, which has its own very, very big role in my personal growth. Let me do that. Why can't we have positive motivations?
So can we sum it up like this, that we are not, we cannot obviously not practically not do for all, but wherever possible, we should not neglect it as well, right? On the way while doing.
Oh yes, why not? Yes. Yeah, the question is not how much you can do, whether you can clear 100% of debt, 99%, 95% तो रह जाएगा यार, 5% तो रहने वाला है, तो छोड़ो. Point is giving your due effort to every, and for a positive reason. Then that sustains, like your parents, or there's a positive. I mean, that खून हमारे अंदर उन्हीं का आ रहा है, by the way, तो there's a reason, but a positive one. Making sense?
Yes.
Actually, negative travels faster, negative word of mouth. 3x faster than, we learned in our MBA. 3 times faster than the positive word of mouth. So sometimes we use, but it should not be personally for us. That's why we're pleasing Krishna, that should be the goal. That should be why it has been told. That's the reason.
You mentioned about growth mindset. So if one thing doesn't work out, and before even you were doing example of so before even giving up, we should try our best, try all the different means. So sometimes it happens like we try in one aspect and then we fail, and then we start from zero, and again we start. Like sometimes we fail again in that. It starts taking up, consuming up a lot of mental space and energy in our lives. And sometimes we start feeling like, where does it go? how many times are you going to go through the same cycle and again and again? And when is it going to stop? And what about the other aspects of it?
That means it was never growth mindset. It was a fixed mindset only.
So let us suppose that someone is trying to change his career, and then he puts a lot of effort, he changes it. But again, there once he goes in that particular aspect, and then he starts realizing that what I was looking for is not getting satisfied with this particular kind of thing. So again, he starts feeling like we need to change, and then this goes on for the cycle. So he's putting effect. If not, he's working on it.
So our Indian work life is not easy, by the way. So there is no easy solution to it. By and large, we are uh, in a very difficult market state. Demand is very less on and or maybe reducing on a reducing trend. Supply is huge. So there are a lot of other pressures also. Which sometimes it's a debt, loan which is there, which is looming on your head. Hardly any security being done. When I was talking to some of my juniors from IIFT, they were kind of trying to reach out that हमारी job ही नहीं हो पा रही है, job ही नहीं हो पा रही है, and recently passed out, freshly passed outs, and they never thought, imagined that getting into no jobs will happen and all those things. So there are certain things which are like Akashvani types, beyond your control. You can't do much about it.
Not just the same. From my perspective, same I feel in terms of the job, the location where I'm going to stay. Is it going to be like if it's so variable that you cannot fixate on one thing, and then it affects your bhakti, like the connection which you're establishing with in the community which you are getting connected to. So it keeps changing, and you're not able to develop that deep relationship, which eventually will help you out when you actually need that support. Or if you might not be able to share your feelings that openly to the community which are just connected.
Yeah, obviously, yes.
So it's like across multiple aspects wherein.
So we have to prioritize in that phase what is important for us. Let's say the career stability is important for us. So because then we have to kind of explain ourselves that that at this point of time, this is what is important for me. So let me focus on doing that, stabilizing that. And that it's not just stabilizing means, again, with a negative motivation that I am so burnt out in my current career. That can be one motivation to change, but again, positive motivations. What I'm good at really, what should I do? What can I do? Can I really do it? What is stopping me to do it? That what I want to do. So moving in that direction can give us more enthusiasm. Sometimes we don't even do that. Sometimes it's more about just leaving the current situation, which is extremely bad. I want to get into something else. So that introspection, either we don't get time, energy, or clarity or focus, that we think probably what I'm good at, I'm not able to focus only in my life. Okay, so can I have a plan for that? So like this, I don't think so. It is there is any problem in doing that. You can find even in such circumstances, there are people who are I know of people, they somehow or other got into some teaching career, for instance, and I'm not denying saying that teaching career is a problem, but then they got into it. They were probably potential had to do something else, and they realize it much later. But now do it now, instead of just cribbing why it couldn't happen, why it be looming in past and doing like that. Those negative, we should not do it. We can think of something more positive, etc., and all do that. So thinking, like as you told, Naki, it's taking my lot of space. Whether I'm digging in right direction is also a question. Maybe there is another direction, only I have to start digging. Okay. And why I'm not digging? Because there's a fear. There's a lot of fear that no, if I lose this, then it's going to be hell breaking loose and all those things. So slowly, we need to talk and overcome our fears. What is the fear in the current situation? We need to overcome that and then find a solution. Then probably we'll find a solution. With fear, you can't have you'll always have be like, no, managing the current and fixed mindset. We may think I'm trying to grow, get out of it, no, but it's fixed mindset. Because all I am getting motivated by is the fear of the. Growth mindset is what I'm really good at. What is in me, am I really getting into it or not? All those things. Those reflections are important for us. No straight answer, by the way. But yeah, definitely it is. If we settle mindset, we'll find out a way. It's not that somebody has to come and show us a way. But if we switch that, if we are without fear, or if we are addressing our fear, not getting motivated by negatives, then we can. And what I want, and what is stopping me from doing that, let me address that. Then we'll feel more enthusiastic. Of course, there may be some practical things, on terms of debt and all those things, and all of those discussions are there. And sometimes we may not be able to take a decision immediately on that. Then we buy time and we think that probably not the right time right now. It's fine. I'm far from my goal, but the goal is there. I'll move towards it, maybe at some point of time.
Because that's what I see. I'm reading the Prabhupada. Prabhupada also had multiple instances of failure and then coming back, and then again failure and then coming back. It delayed things for him, but yeah, ultimately he started working on.
Yeah, Prabhupada is a great example. Prabhupada never stopped. If you see Juhuland, everybody gave up. Everybody. And Prabhupada, till then, people were getting frustrated. Why is Prabhupada after some? And he ensured it happened. So, yeah, that's why Prabhupada is amazing. So, yeah, so we need to. Because Prabhupada was always focused on why it is not possible. What is the difficulty? Oh, can you please explain the example that you gave of running in a train doesn't make you reach the destination faster? So Giridhari Leela Prabhu. Yeah, so what I was trying to tell is that no, that devotional life, while we have, so I was giving this example in the context of that sometimes we may neglect certain aspects of our life, sort of in name of devotional life. Okay, so thinking that I'm going to advance faster if I give up on these things. But that's not going to happen because devotional life is not dependent on my giving up on these things or that thing or those things. So that's what I meant when I said that no, it's like more like running in a train to reach the destination faster. But point is that you are running in a train only. So you have your own speed uh, of your devotional inclination, and then you are going to progress on that only. And rather than that, focus on developing deeper understanding of Krishna consciousness, which can help us go faster. That will probably put the train in fourth or fifth gear, and then we move faster. That was the point. Okay, any other point? Any reflections? Okay. Anything from online devotees, offline, so we are going to spend time only in which ways. Online devotees, anybody is having any questions? We are good. So we'll stop here. It's 8 o'clock. Stop here. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful session and such an impromptu one.